Do you spend a fair bit of your holiday abroad on your phone, checking your emails, tweeting, Facebooking, sending messages back home? If so, of course, you're not alone. We all do, don't we?
We do. Last year we spent more than £570 million on mobile roaming charges in Europe. And for many people, some of those charges came as a real shock. Here are just two people's stories.
Went on holiday to Miami and my bill was around £746. Well, I had to sit down because it was quite a shock. It was quite upsetting because it cost actually more for the phone bill than it did for the flights and the hotel and probably spending money in Miami.
So last month I was working in Ecuador in South America and I managed to rack up a phone bill of over £1,100, which is the highest it's ever been. It's so hard to resist not turning your data roaming on when you've got no Wi-Fi, and when you're in a country like Ecuador there's so many incredible views, so you just want to share all your photos with your friends and families. Don't just assume that you're going to pay a bit extra from your normal bill, because it can be ridiculous.
Well, technology expert Will Francis is here. I am so guilty of exactly what that guy was saying. It's just too tempting to turn it on and send a picture if you've got a beautiful sunset or you're in a mountain range. It costs you a fortune.
It can cost you a lot of money, you know, and it's not just the stuff you actively do. Your phones, we all have smartphones today, so they're doing all sorts of stuff in the background. They're updating apps, they're syncing your, you know, photos that you've taken to things like Dropbox and Google. So it's really, really easy to build up megabytes and megabytes of data usage. And, of course, you receive calls as well, and that can cost money just to
Even
take
if you don't answer them, sometimes it can cost money.
Yeah, it can go to voicemail.
voicemail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really easily done.
OK, so what do we do to protect ourselves? What are the tips?
There are really three things that you need to do when you take your mobile phone abroad. The first thing is use Wi-Fi wherever possible. It's becoming kind of the norm, really, that your hotel has Wi-Fi, local cafes would have Wi-Fi, and it's generally free. So use that instead, because that's, you know, free, and you can download lots of, you know, data-heavy things like photos and movies and what have you. Secondly would be that all-important switch somewhere in your settings to switch roaming off.
Explain what that means, just in case anybody's sitting there going, I have no idea what Will's talking about right now.
Well, in your settings is this switch. It's usually in a place called cellular settings, and when you switch it off, your phone knows that it's abroad and it will not use any data, so internet services, if that switch is off, and that means you'll incur no data charges.
So when you have your new mobile phone, it has a little 3G or sometimes 4G sign now.
That's right.
If you go abroad and you turn that to off, then that 3G or 4G sign will go completely.
That goes completely, but you still have phone signals, so you can still make calls.
So you can make calls, you just don't get the internet.
You just don't get the internet. And
does that affect your Wi-Fi, though, if you've got your Wi-Fi enabled?
No, you can go and log on to Wi-Fi, that's totally different, but this just cuts off your access to data over the cellular networks.
Right, OK.
Which is the expensive bit.
Yeah.
The last thing is, you know, before you go, call your mobile phone carrier, talk to them, ask them about packages. It's never a good idea to let data just happen to you and let it build up. Yes, they'll send you texts to remind you you've spent lots of money, but you really need to be proactive and call them ahead of going on holiday and ask them what packages they've got, and it's usually a lot cheaper that way.
Do the phone companies have some responsibility to let us know if we're building things up?
They do. I mean, there are no kind of set responsibilities in terms of milestones that you hit. They have to send you a text, but they normally do, particularly when you get to large sums like £1,000. But what they all do have is they will have a free-to-access website or app where you can, by the minute, check your data and phone call allowances. One of my biggest piece of advice would be to familiarise yourself with that before you go away, so that whether you've bought a package or not, you can always be checking.
Just keep up to date on it.
Keep up to date on it and just be on top of it.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Will, thanks very much. Some good tips there. We'll put all those tips on the website as well, so do go and have a look if you're going away on holiday.